Okay, this is going to be stupefyingly general because I always have a problem, and I apologize in advance for this, the generalities here, but I need to keep Islam simple for me because I didn't grow up exposed to Islam in the way that I grew up exposed to Christianity, even though I'm not a believer. My background, all not all of our backgrounds, but the background of people who are like basically white like me and grew up in, say, Quebec and Ontario, you probably knew about Christianity and Judaism, but Islam, not very much. I mean, really, the Islamic world didn't sort of arrive clearly until these wars started in the 80s. And then when the Shah fell in 79, people were like, who was the Shah again? Like, what? Who? And people were like, well, we put him in there. It's like, we? Who we? Who was we? What happened? Because I didn't know any of that history. I was 18, and I don't know. I mean, I was ironically working as a graphic designer, and we were putting through book after book about how great the Shah was, and there were these big coffee table books about the great monarchy of the Shah, because of course he had this. It was called Persia. It wasn't called Iran. Well, by many people, it was called Persia. And so it was considered to be sort of the jewel of the Orient, and blah. Okay, so there was this huge sort of Western fetishizing of the incredible opulence and of the Shah's palace and so on. But he was also running death squads and torture squads, and he was bad news. I mean, this is okay. So this is my explanation for why I'm not that familiar with Islam. So what you're going to see on this next map here, which I will show you, is that just as Christianity is divided roughly, I mean, there are many, many, many subsections of this, but roughly into Catholics and Protestants, and misses hundreds of divisions within these divisions. You can also divide Islam into two, the Sunni and the Shia. All right, so let's get some clarity on this. So you'll see from this slide that the darkest blue countries here, which is mostly North Africa, is Sunni. And in fact, most of Islam is Sunni. Right? So Saddam Hussein was Sunni, right? Except that Iraq is mostly Shia. So here's one of these strange sort of things where you've got this, as I say, this little minority which is in charge of this big majority. That's not going to end well, right? And then you'll see from, again, this map, which I chose this particular map because it's just very helpful to see. It's like, aha, And then here is this one country, which is basically all Shia. That's Iran, right? So, and part of Iraq, which is why Iraq is partly green, right? So it's greeny blue, because there's this mixture of Shia and Sunni in Iraq. Okay, and then this other, you've got this other map, which is the Shia-Sunni face-off. Less than 15% of the global Muslim population is Shia. Right, okay. So what is the difference between these two groups? To know this, you have to remember that in 632 CE, which is the Common Era, we talk about the Common Era because we're no longer talking about marking time based on Christianity. But but because we have for so long now used the apparent birth of Christ, because we don't really know when Christ was born. If the Christians say it's like Christ was born on such and such a date, it's like, okay, well, our calendar is hooked up to that date. So the Common Era, CE, is now how we refer to this time. So if you say something happened, it used to be that we would say that Muhammad's birth, which is what we're going to talk about, or death in this case, what happened in 632 AD is what we would say, which people think means after death. It's like, no, it means in the year of our Lord, Anno Domini, which I'm going to put in here. Okay. So what happens in 632 AD, or now the CE, the Common Era, which is the beginning of this generalized time, which we are in, whether or not we believe. So you don't have to believe. It's just like, this is the calendar we're using. Okay, that's fine. So in 632 CE, or in the old calculations, AD, Muhammad, who was the prophet of Muslims and who originated and founded Islam, died. That's what you need to know. Okay. He was followed by 4 caliphs. And the caliphs, 4. Remember, I always say 4. He's followed by, I didn't make this up actually. This time it's just 4. He was followed by 4 caliphs. These are religious leaders who carried on the work. They sort of have the same kind of clout as the apostles do in Christianity. And the 4th caliph was the prophet's son-in-law, Talib, which is where Ibn is the son of. I'll put this up on the slide because, as I say, I don't speak Arabic, and I do apologize. I wish I did. But this the prophet's son-in-law, Ali ibn Ali Talib, was considered by many to be the true follower of Muhammad. So at this point, Islam splits into these 2 groups. Right? The Sunni, which is the biggest group, right, is 87 to 90% of all Muslims. And the reason that they are called Sunni is that they are people of the tradition, Sunnah. Okay. They understand these 4 caliphs as legitimate followers of Muhammad, and they hold to that particular view of Islam. So they're like, yep, these 4 guys are good with us. The way that they were going, the way that they understood Muhammad and the teachings, that's the way we're going to go. So it becomes, as always, an issue of interpretation. Okay. That's 87 to 90%, the tradition. Right? The other 10 to 13%, because obviously these numbers are, the reason the numbers are rough is that we're dealing with hundreds of millions, actually billions of people. So that's why the numbers are so rough. The Shia, the other group, right, not the Sunni, but the Shia, the small group, believe that Ali, the 4th caliph, the prophet's son-in-law, is the true, legitimate follower of Muhammad, and that imams must be of his bloodline. So this is the true prophet's inheritor as far as the Shia are concerned. Ali is with the Shia. The 4 caliphs are with the Sunni, the tradition. Worldwide, as you can see, the Sunni are the majority, except in Iraq, where they are the minority. Okay. So, you'll see here, just let me remind you, that Iran is a Shia state. Okay, so let's just take a moment to process all of that, all of those maps.